everyone. Welcome back to the Gaming Blog Podcast, your number one podcast for all of the pertinent video game news spanning across all generations and platforms, including Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and more. I am your host, Andrew Ron, and today I'm joined by one half of the bad boys of video games, Jacob Ward.
Hello.
And today I join you from a new studio. As you can see more. We have the shelves back. Longtime viewers and listeners might remember the shelves before. I think we did some video recording with the shelves in the back, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure. The shelves are back. You can actually see my Persona poster, which I really appreciate. Jake pointed that out. And those audio listeners, sorry, youtube.com/slightlyemp. You see those right there, Jake?
Mm-hmm.
See that little white thing and that little black thing?
Yeah.
So those are PlayStation 4 plates. I bought those plates. They're Persona themed. I bought those. Oh, gosh. It must have been when Persona 5 came out. So
Yeah, it's around then.
yeah. So what was that, 2017 that it came out?
Yeah, it's like 2016, 2017.
So those are about 6 years old. And I never realized, I'm kind of an idiot because I've always wanted to hang them up. And they're that glossy finish, like a lot of PS4s were. So they're very fragile, very scratchable. So I've cared for them with my life for the past 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got here, I was like, maybe I can get like a command strip or something, or maybe some hooks or something like that. I found out there's little lips in the corner of each of them. A push pin works perfectly.
Didn't know that?
Or a thumbtack. A thumbtack works perfectly. I didn't know that. So, but I got them hanging up, and there's a lot more. You can't really see it in the camera, but we have the 2 arcade machines up. We have 2 more shelves. We kind of got like the Spider-Man corner going on, things like that. It's all coming together very nicely. But we're back. Sorry for the hiatus, although we're kind of known for that, I guess. I did have a legitimate excuse this time, though, unlike the last times. Moved to the real United States of America. I'm out of that fake United States. You're pretty close to real America. Alabama, of course, was not a part of the original 13 colonies, but it did come around.
It might as well have been.
It came around pretty fast. You're probably like only a couple hundred miles off what was part of the original Georgia colony, which of course was only the northern half of Georgia. And then it later expanded. I think it was around 1815, something like that, around the Louisiana Purchase, that Alabama was already either a territory or a state. So, you're basically there. Much closer than Kansas anyways, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. We're not in Kansas anymore.
I'm not sure actually what we're talking about. This actually brings up a good segue, though, to where I think it is our obligatory duty to tell the audience the truth. Don't you think?
Maybe.
And I think it's time that they knew the truth, that you've all been living a lie. The United States is not what you think it is. It is Texas. And that's it. We have an official document, an official map that we'll be posting onto the official Twitter account.
Edited in right here.
Okay.
In here.
Probably not going to do that, but I
over
might.
Here.
We'll post it to official Facebook page, Twitter account, Instagram. This is the truth. This is the real United States. It's all Texas. It's actually Texas, bigger than Mexico, bigger than Canada. It owns everything, and we're all Texas. So, watch out for those Cowboys. Anyways, Jake, how are you doing? This is a video game podcast, not a Texas podcast. It has been a while. Everything going well? Everything doing well? And
things are going A-okay.
A-okay? That's good. That's good.
Just been working. And we finally beat the Master Chief Collection. Got all the achievements in it.
Air claps. Congratulations. Roger's not here. Ida's not here. They're both dead.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We'll probably...
And then I went back and got all the achievements in Halo CE Anniversary that I didn't have already. Because, why not? That sounds easy after doing this.
Yeah, and you only have Halo 5 left, right?
If you don't count, some of the, Halo 3 ODST, which I have a few firefight achievements I need to get with, 4-player live. But other than that, yeah, Halo 5, and it's been a kind of a bitch. Yeah. I've been playing it solo on Legendary, and that's a mean Legendary, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Like you take like 3 shots and you're down.
Dang. Good thing it's short.
Yeah. But like, man, it's like you get into wide open spaces. That's not fun.
Yeah, I imagine.
And it has a team revive mechanic, but man, your AI partners are fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Like they get caught on anything, and like they'll like a lot of times you'll be in a firefight and they'll just be like standing around, like doing nothing. You'll call for help and they'll be like, "Okay, I'll be there."
Yeah,
Eyes go crossed, or they'll just all end up dying trying to revive each other. And so like the strategy becomes like basically playing like Call of Duty on Veteran and World at War,
where you just like inch your way up little by little.
Yeah. And the biggest problem with Halo 5 is that weapons despawn like almost immediately after they're dropped.
Oh, well,
so like, but in some Halo games they did despawn, but as long as you picked them up and dropped them, they didn't despawn. But even when you do it in this game, like I was standing right next to one, like so I would have extra ammo because ammo's always been like kind of a problem in the 343 Halo games. Yeah. And it just was gone. I emptied my clip. I stepped away from like less than 30 seconds, came back to get it, and it was gone.
I mean, that makes sense, you know, always emptying the cache because the Xbox One had the memory of a toaster. So
it also sucks because like if any enemy is further than like 10 feet away from you, their frame rate goes down to like 2 frames a second.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So funny. The Xbox One isn't, well, it's weaker than the PS4 if I recall.
It's optimized for the original one with the Kinect attached and everything.
Yeah. So that Kinect, man, let me tell you, we'll probably have an episode about that one day, but that just fucking killed Xbox, honestly.
And it's super interesting because out of all the Halo games, it's like the only one that's not optimized for Xbox Series S and X. Like they went back and optimized the Master Chief Collection, and you know, of course, Halo Infinite is, but if Halo 5 didn't ever get that ever
yet, they might.
They probably won't. At this point, they probably won't.
Yeah.
Though they do update it to let you know when the new seasons of Halo Infinite come out on the menu.
Well, we'll advertise our new game, but we're not going to fix this one. Yeah, that sounds very much like 343 and Microsoft to a slightly lesser extent, but yeah.
In the whole like 3 shots and you're dead would be way easier if the like bullets didn't travel like faster than real bullets in this game and home in on you with like every single gun, and because like they have to like factor in you being able to clamber and like having like a dash and sprint at all times. So compared to old Halo, you could do like a little song and dance with the bullets. Like you could like, it's almost like a bullet hell almost. You could walk around them. But this one's like, oh no, you're fast now. Remember, you can dodge sometimes. So you're gonna be in hell all the time.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great. Halo 5 out now, available for probably you probably get for like $3, honestly.
Probably not. Honestly, it's probably one of those games they never put on sale.
Well, I meant like at a fucking GameStop or something.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, that's
Game
good
Pass.
I haven't been playing too much, obviously, with the whole moving across the country thing, starting a new job. You don't really have too much time to play. Slowly still chipping away at Tears of the Kingdom. I have started the 3rd dungeon now. It's one of those things where, and I think I've said this every single time, I don't hate this game. I just still don't really love it. And it's asking a lot from me for someone who doesn't really love playing the game, because this game is big and everything takes a lot of time to do. And just because of the size of the game and how far everything is, like a lot of the time I spend now is just traveling from one edge to the other, and typically I'll like spawn to a tower or something and launch off from there and try to fly over to my destination, which is hilarious. A lot of the time I'm spending in the game is trying to avoid the game so I can get to the next area.
Honestly, the tower launching was such a big game changer for Tears of the Kingdom versus Breath of the Wild, because you could cover so much distance so fast.
You can, which is nice because it's a fucking massive game. And the original one was pretty big too, but honestly there's a lot less to do and go to in the original. Susan did beat Breath of the Wild since we've been gone. Very funny reaction. The second that she beat it, I turned to her, I was like, okay, so was it the best game ever? And her immediate response was no. And I said just like little like kind of off the cuff rating. what would you give it? And I think she said like a 7 or an 8. She was like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's fair. I think I would give Breath of the Wild a 7 or an 8. I think there was, well, I think like with every Zelda game and kind of Nintendo to a broader extent, there's a lot of hype and a lot of overrating that happens when a new Nintendo game comes out.
Specifically Zelda too.
Yeah, especially with Zelda. Oddly enough,
Skyward Sword got a 10 out of 10.
Exactly. Like you look at Skyward Sword, and I think that was overrated. I think Breath of the Wild was to a lesser extent overrated. It's definitely better than Skyward Sword, and these games aren't bad either. Like I think an 8 out of 10 is good. I think that's a really good score. But you know, you tell that to Zelda fans, and they'll just argue with you. No, this is why it is the best game. I was like, well, I could give you probably 10 games off the top of my head that are better in almost every way than Breath of the Wild, but that's okay. You know, to each their own. But she wasn't like the biggest fan of it, and yeah, I just kind of feel the same way with Tears of the Kingdom. But I'm gonna keep powering through, and I'm gonna beat it so we can eventually do that spoiler cast with everybody sometime. Other than that, I started Baldur's Gate 3, and it's fun. I'm not here to like say anything different than anyone else. I haven't really played much of it. I've only got like an hour into it, but
I've seen everyone likes the Fire Demon Girl.
I haven't even seen the Fire Demon Girl yet, but I've gotten like an hour, like I said, hour and a half into it. I made my own character. I kind of got through the initial tutorial thing, and something that kind of took me back was I didn't realize, I knew that Baldur's Gate was like Dungeons and Dragons. I think Divinity Original Sin is also Dungeons and Dragons to an extent. I think these are all like D&D universe things, but I didn't realize how D&D this is. Like there's moments where a D20 die is actually on the screen being rolled.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is actually Dungeons and Dragons. And there's like an actual DM that's like doing voiceover and things like that and telling the story. And it's actually really cool. So I'm excited to see, like I said, I just got out of the intro area and the world is starting to open up a little bit. So I'm excited to see how like diverse it really is. I mean,
it really seems like it's a very horny game.
A really what?
A really horny game. Like all the characters are like incredibly horny.
It's just like, just from the character designs and things like that, it's like this is I mean, you know, you can have sex with a bear. That's in this game.
Well, it's a man that turns into bear.
A man that turns into a bear. But I'm playing it on the Steam Deck. My only complaint about the Steam Deck is that the resolution is a little low at times, but it's a handheld. What are you going to really expect from something like that?
But when you talk about the Switch, you're always complaining about how it looks.
Well, it looks a lot better than the Switch, I'll tell you that. Switch kind of looks like trash sometimes. Although I will say, after watching Susan play Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom does look exceptionally better.
Oh yeah,
what they did with the graphics in that game, you can tell that it is a new generation game, and that is a Wii U game.
It is kind of interesting because you don't notice it at first because of like you're just so used to that art style from the first game. But when you put them side by side, it is very noticeable. Yeah, especially the sound design. The sound like compression was really bad in the first Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. But I'm excited to play more of this game. And then honestly, if I really get into it and I'm really enjoying it, I might just get for PS5 when it comes out next month, because it'll definitely look great on there. Like I don't have to worry about my PC settings on the PlayStation 5. But we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. There's a lot of games that are going to start coming out soon. Like I know Armored Core 6 is going to come out August 25th, and I'm kind of excited for that.
And then the Armored Core 6, that was the final physical magazine that GameStop offered to send for Game Informer with your Pro membership.
Really? They're done with physical?
Like with the move to their new like GameStop Pro or whatever they call it now, they don't send out physical ones at all.
Wow. End of an era. Well,
I don't know if Game Informer's done entirely with it, or if they're just not sending them anymore. But you know, either way, you'd have to get your own subscription to Game Informer to get a physical magazine now.
Oh, is that how they're doing it?
At least that's as far as what I was like told.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say like Game Informer is owned by GameStop, so they're basically one and the same.
So it might be done, but it's funny because like for the last year or so, whenever I get a magazine, I get doubles every month. I don't know why.
Yeah,
So
you've given some to me.
yeah,
I know you gave me the Resident Evil one. So yeah,
and I got a really cool Final Fantasy 16 one, and then the Armored Core 6 was unless they like the whole double thing was that they were sending me one from Game Informer and one from GameStop. I might still get more.
We'll see.
We'll
I
see.
guess next month we'll see.
Yeah, Armored Core 6 was might be the last one I ever see.
Okay. If you keep those doubles too, I'll take that spare one off your hands.
Cool.
But yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
The last game I've been playing, and actually I'm very close to beating it, is Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. I think this is the third Shantae game. Don't ask me why I started in the middle. It's just the one that was installed on my Steam Deck.
It's like the most easily accessible one too.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I guess other than Half Genie Hero, because I guess I would say that one's the most accessible because Xseed published it and was on like everything.
I was gonna say I've played Half Genie Hero. I played it on the Vita a little bit, but never really got too far into it. But this game I don't want to say exceptional, but it is very good.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things in it that are kind of annoying, and those mostly have to do with the abilities. And there's just sometimes with the abilities where it's a little awkward to use them sometimes. The thing that I'm thinking of most is so what you're doing in this game is like you're getting all the pirates like old things like his hat and his boots and his cannon, and those give you abilities and power-ups in the game. And there's one with the boots where to activate it, you just start running and eventually you'll start glowing, and then you hit the attack button and you'll do this charge.
It's like a shine dash of them.
Kind of.
Spark.
It's very awkward though, because there's like a specific unknown amount of time that you have to run before it's able to actually be initiated. And it's been a little frustrating. And then also some of the designs of the dungeons, things like that. I got soft locked once and I had to kill myself because I just got stuck in a place. And then there's just some really like kind of precise platforming, which is weird because this really isn't a platformer. It is a 2D side scroller, but there's not much platforming going on. But then they'll randomly throw in these like kind of challenging moments where you have to like be very precise in your jumps and abilities and things like that. So that's been interesting. I do like it though. I like it a lot. I'm literally like at the final boss. I'm at the door, but I kind of want to go back and just kind of scrounge up some collectibles and things like that to get some achievements and stuff. I might actually go back and like 100% this game. I was looking through the achievements and they don't seem that incredibly hard to get at all.
No, it's definitely not one of those games where it'd be difficult to do.
Yeah. So, and of course I'll use a guide and things like that for the collectibles because I don't want to fucking worry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun and I'm kind of excited to play the other ones. I noticed though, all of them are available on Steam except for the first one.
Yeah, I know. I think there might be a thing with like Nintendo with that one because I know Capcom has some rights to it. I think, or maybe no, I don't think they do anymore.
It actually just came out to PlayStation though this year. So
well, no, I don't actually. I was going to say about Capcom, but I remember when I got the Game Boy reproduction cartridge for it, instead of Capcom, it says limited run on it now. So I think they just Capcom just had it on there was publishing by it. So I'm wondering if it's like a matter of them just getting it ready for like other systems.
Yeah, that's what
they were able to put it on the Switch pretty quickly. And then now it's coming out on PlayStation, or it is on PlayStation.
Yeah, it's already out on PlayStation. Because I looked it up last night. I was like, is this out on any other platforms, or is this just like one of those games stuck on the Game Boy? But no, it's come out. It's been re-released. So
that's like before, like if you like around the time like the Pirates Curse came out, if you wanted to play that first one, you were kind of SOL unless you emulated it. Like you had to get like a cartridge, and that cartridge like at the time, I don't know what it is now, but at the time it was like a $400 cartridge.
Yeah, it's probably dropped in price with the re-releases, but no, I remember that. I remember when Half Genie Hero came out, and I got it because I was getting like every Vita game. And you were talking about that, like, oh yeah, the original one cost $500. I was like, well, I'm not playing that one.
Yeah, that's why I was like, when limited run games like came out with like a like $50 reproduction cartridge, it's like, okay,
yeah,
it's still an official cartridge.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, but it's good, and I'm enjoying it. I'm excited to play it, and then of course, I'm like always playing Persona 4 Golden, and I haven't actually gotten back to Final Fantasy XVI. Just with like, that's like a game where I want to sit down and like have the lights off and like really zone in and play it. But right now with moving, the PS5 is in the living room and not in our spare bedroom. And there's just like, I don't know. It's just, I'm not mentally there, you know? Like I'm not, because I feel like with that game, I really want to ingest it all. I want to feel the story, you know, get it all inside of me. I want to read all the little things and stuff like that. But I'm not really feeling it for a game like that right now. That's why Shantae is kind of perfect, because it's like, I'm just hitting skeletons with my hair and running around and collecting little hearts.
Getting new shampoo to make your hair stronger.
Yeah. I'm getting shampoo and things like that. So, but other than that,
don't forget, she's 7.
Yeah. Context for that, we were looking up what Shantae's age canonically is in the game, and we got like 3-4 different answers.
I asked my Google Home, and it was just like, it said it was like Shantae is 7, and then went on to describe like whatever game came out 7 years ago, and I was like, oh, okay, well that makes more sense. But
I think it would be, I think Half Genie Hero came out 7 years ago.
Yeah, so it was probably with that.
Probably the one. Yeah, but interesting stuff. That's a rabbit hole if you want to look into it, because then the creator's very weird about it. It was like the person who writes and creates Shantae was like, I think, you know,
he said that he writes her as a 16-year-old, but there is no canonical age.
Yeah, and then like one time he said that she's 21, but she's not 20. It's a little suspect, if I'm being honest. A little weird. Like, okay, you're writing her as a child, but then you're not. I don't know. So anyways.
Smells like Teen Spirit.
Thankfully, there's not really anything that it's just a side scroller, so it doesn't really matter, but you know how fans are.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. Well, with that in mind, it is once again time for everyone's favorite segment, the gaming riddle. All right, Jake, you're still in the lead by a marginal amount. 28 points for you, 18.5 for Roger, 15 for me. Big donut for Ida.
Ooh.
So, I'm going to go ahead and throw this one to you. Might be easy, might not, who knows. Sneak through and take down your foes. This map is built in rows. Listen to audio cues, but which version of this game will you choose? You get 5 guesses. The 5th one has to be a game.
It's Metal Gear. Solid.
Yeah, it is.
You were going to say no if I just said Metal Gear, so I had to...
Well, technically Metal Gear is wrong, but yes, Metal Gear Solid originally released on the PlayStation 1 in 1990. It wasn't 6. It wasn't a launch
7,
game.
I think.
1997 or 8. No, it wasn't 7 because I think it was 1998 because I think Metal Gear Solid 2 came out on the PS2, right?
Yes.
And that was only like 2 or 3 years afterwards. So I think it's like 98, maybe even 99. We could easily look this up, but I'm not going to. Metal Gear, a different game, originally released on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Or actually, originally released on, I think it was a ZX Spectrum. It was a PC game, and then it had a very botched port to the NES.
Yeah.
And then they had a sequel exclusive to the NES version, and then a sequel exclusive to the PC version.
Weren't games so fun back then?
Yeah.
Where they're just a mess. We think exclusives are bad now. Like you hear Xbox talking about like PlayStation's taking the exclusive stuff. Go back to the 80s and 90s. There's just consoles and computers you've never fucking heard. There were different computers, which there still are, but we're more or less kind of getting over that. Even with Mac, they have this new initiative where they're kind of doing the same thing that Proton is doing with Linux, and I read about it, and we didn't report on it because it was happening while we were gone. But they're making this program where theoretically any game will work on Mac now. Like it's exactly like Proton has done for Linux-based games. So, which I think is great. That's what it should be. Like, just let people play where they want to play.
They were growing up with my lowly little MacBook. Could never play games with the friends unless it was like Minecraft. Yeah,
kind of a mistake gaming-wise if you got a Mac. But yeah, so that's interesting. That's cool. You were right. Metal Gear. You have 29 Metal Gear Solid. I thought about doing Twin Snakes, but you just would have wasted a question. You would have gotten it anyways.
Oh yeah.
You have 29 points now. Congratulations. Moving on.
It's just like one of my Japanese animes.
meta on my mind.
Japanese anime.
We're gonna look at some Metacritic scores now. Atlas Has Fallen, or Atlas Fallen. My apologies.
It's not the sequel to Olympus Has Fallen,
which is the sequel to.
No, it was Olympus Has Fallen, London Has Fallen, Angel Has Fallen. Yes. And now we have Atlas Has Fallen.
Never seen the two latter ones.
No, same. I just kept getting bewildered that more were coming out in that series about a guy who was like a bodyguard for the president. Now he's saving London. And then I don't even know what happened in Angel Has Fallen.
There were 3 Taken movies, okay? This is what action movies do.
There was Taken as well.
Oh, Taken. True. Anyways.
It's like Taken 2 was like, it was the daughter. I think I saw all these in theater except for the first one. But Taken 2 was like the daughter rescuing him.
Yep.
And like, it was so silly. She was just like running around throwing grenades at one point. So her dad could hear the explosions and like time how far away they were. And she just like blew up some random person's car. And I was like, you didn't have to throw it there. But it was like the worst. Like, you remember those old like iPhone VFX apps you could have that would like shoot the missiles or like the car would go rolling or whatever?
Yeah.
When the car exploded, it looked like that.
It just looked like a cheap.
It looked so bad.
Those movies are pretty cheap.
I think it was the biggest visual effect in the movie too.
But Atlas Fallen is a video game, not a movie. Mm-hmm. And it's got kind of middling to sort of bad reviews on PS5, 64, on Xbox 70, and PC 72. Of course, most of those reviews are going to be on PS5 because that is the most popular platform. So you can probably average it out to it's a high 60, probably. Mm-hmm. This game made by Deck 13. They're the guys that made The Surge and Lords of the Fallen, if you remember those games. They're kind of a AA studio. And this game, if I'm remembering correctly, this is that first person. Nope, it's not. Is third person action game. Or is this the right game? I don't know. Anyways, It's not great. AA game. They're back for better or for worse. Baldur's Gate 3. It's only out on PC right now. 97. And I believe, let me look up here real quick. Best rated games of 2023. I believe this is higher than Tears of the Kingdom. I think
it's gonna win Game of the Year.
It is number 1. Yes, it is. Tears of the Kingdom is a 96 on Metacritic. Baldur's Gate 3 on PC is a 97.
All right.
So pretty good. Interesting. Tears of the Kingdom has an 8.3 user score. Know what the third highest rated game of the year is, Jake?
Final Fantasy XVI.
No, Metroid Prime Remastered.
Ooh,
94.
A big good game of the year.
Which is interesting because I don't think it's hard with games like that because like modern standards, Metroid Prime dated, very dated.
But I mean, like all they did was just like it's Metroid Prime. It's a great game. People love it, and then they gave it a regular control scheme. So amazing.
Yeah, I don't know.
They let you use a modern controller. Hell yeah. And it looks great. It's best looking game on the Switch. I'll tell you that.
Ooh, I don't know about that. Have you seen Pikmin 4? Pikmin 4 looks really good. Like, I was watching gameplay of it the other day, and that game is like, it was one of those things where like, this is on the Switch. It's fucking stunning, dude.
I don't know. Does it compare to the lemon from Paper Mario Color Splash?
I was about to also say Paper Mario and the Origami King.
Yeah.
Fucking beautiful on that OLED Switch.
I'll say, as far as like you doing a realistic like art style, probably it's the best looking one. Like it shows that you can do a realistic art style on the Switch, and it works. Yeah, if we're going like not I don't want to call it cartoony, stylized. Because like it depends on your taste for art styles, but I think that Metroid Prime is probably the best looking game on the Switch so far.
Doesn't have that reflection though.
That's true. Anyways, they fucked that up. It would have broke the Switch if they put it on there.
Disney Illusion Island, which was that game that was at that Nintendo Direct that was like run, jump. It's like, wow, all these things you can do in a platformer, and those are your selling points. Amazing.
Revolutionary.
72 on Metacritic, so not really too surprised there. Moving Out 2 on PS5 has an 83.
Billy Joel?
And I'm Moving Out 2. Yeah, he made a sequel to his song.
Do you listen to that song every time you move?
No.
I think of it at least. I don't listen to it every time.
I don't listen to music when I move. I just have mental breakdowns.
Okay.
At least this last one. The other one's not really, but this last one was terrible. And our last game, Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. I've actually never heard of this game, but it sounds very interesting, and it has middling to decent reviews. PS5, PS5 79, Xbox 75, and PC 75. Not too bad. Yeah, I might check that one out. Like, just see what it is.
And we have to give an honorable mention to the Steam release of Overwatch 2 with its amazing, overwhelmingly negative reviews by over 50,000 people.
That is true. Overwatch 2 did release on Steam, and it has been review bombed, but I think rightfully so, because fuck Blizzard.
$60 for a skin, cutting all the content that was supposed to make Overwatch 2 Overwatch 2, and shutting down the original game to no longer be played. Yeah, it's not a great look.
So this Stray
Team Fortress 2 though got an update. It's back.
I remember this game. I think this was at the PS5 reveal event.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is the one where like they're in a band or whatever, and it looks like American animation and things like that. It's got very positive on Steam, and it's also published by Humble Games. I might check this one out. Yeah, it looks not bad. And I love music. I'm like a huge music guy, so I might check this out.
All right.
Not gonna buy it for $30.
You're gonna watch Goodbye Dinosaur High too, right?
Oh yes,
you're gonna play that
game of the year, game of the decade. Just cancel all other video games. We're done. We can't do better. All right, we have fun here.
Oh yeah.
Jake, I'm gonna look up 2016 video games because we're making our top 100 games of all time, and we're in 2016 now. This is 3 years into the last generation, the Xbox One and PS4 generation, and into the latter years of Wii U. So
we are putting Dark Souls 3 on this list.
Okay, so already he's throwing out some bangers. Notable games.
Uncharted 4, that's a pretty big one.
So notable games that released this year, as he said, Dark Souls 3, the original Overwatch, Uncharted 4, Stardew Valley,
Twilight Princess HD,
XCOM 2, Final Fantasy 15, the original remake, Doom,
Pokemon Go.
You could make an argument for that, honestly.
That was at least for 2016. That was quite a moment to live in.
The Last Guardian, which I don't think is one of the best games, but came out.
No.
Yakuza Kiwami came out this year. Really good game. So, based off those notable ones, just start throwing some games out and put it on the list.
So definitely like Dark Souls 3 right away.
I think Dark Souls 3 is the best Dark Souls game. So I agree wholeheartedly.
We got Hyper Light Drifter. I love that game.
I don't know if I'd say best game of all time, but it is a really good game.
Owlboy's pretty solid platformer. Super Hot. Oh man, Super Hot is fantastic.
Definitely agree because if you're talking best VR games, Super Hot's top 5.
Oh yeah,
sure. Maybe top 10. It's up there.
We have The Division come out. I know you like Division.
I do. It's not one of the best games ever. It's fun. I really like The Division, but
we have Pokemon Sun and Moon and Pokemon Go both come out in 2016.
I'm definitely gonna put Pokemon Go because
just because it was a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah,
everyone was playing it.
Because like the gameplay of it is nothing. You just throw a ball and things like that.
It's still nothing.
But it
the social aspect though was insane.
Yeah, what it did as a game, as a video game, especially for the industry, because it's so weird that like so many people still look at video games as like arcade games, or like child things and stuff like that. Like there's real adults that I've talked to where they're like, oh, adults play video games? And it's like, what do you mean? Or like video games have stories? It's like, duh.
Right.
But they just think of like Pac-Man or the original Mario, So it was good to an extent. I mean, the gameplay, like we said, and the actual game itself had a lot of problems at launch, things like that, but it definitely was a cultural phenomenon. Uncharted 4.
Yeah, that needs to be on there.
Might be the only Uncharted we have on there because I think it is the best Uncharted game.
It's up there. It's kind of a toss-up between 3 and 4 for me, but I really like 4.
Yeah, I like 3 a lot, but
3, the only thing that holds 3 back is the constant heavy fights.
Yeah. I went back and played
the same guy every time
recently, and like 3's really good, but what they did with 4 was just like next level stuff. You know,
we had Final Fantasy 15 that year.
I fucking love Final Fantasy 15. It is one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. No way in hell is it one of the best games ever made.
And we got The Witness. I never played it.
I think we have to put Overwatch.
No, I
think we do. The original Overwatch isn't bad at all. And especially for arena fighters, what it did, it basically took what Halo made and took it to the next level.
Don't compare it to Halo.
It's an arena fighter.
It's a hero shooter. It's not an arena fighter.
It's a hero shooter.
It's the Team Fortress 2 style.
Yeah, that's fair. But
it's a squad based.
I would argue that it took then what it's better than Team Fortress 2 for sure.
Not anymore.
Well, I think it's the core game is still good. The problems with Overwatch 2 aren't the core games. The problem with it is the monetization and the marketing and the lack of updates and all that. That's the core game isn't the problem. I've played Overwatch 2 and it's fun. It's still a good game. The problem with Overwatch 2 is that it's Overwatch. That's the problem. But the game itself is really good. And I actually think that the coreness of that game and how good it is a testament to how there's only been trash surrounding the game in the last 5 years, especially recently, but it's still one of the highest played games in the whole industry.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I wouldn't put it, but it's your podcast, so
I'll put a question mark by it because this is still just the preliminary round. I'm gonna put Overwatch question mark.
We had BioShock the Collection come out. BioShock games.
That has BioShock 2 in it.
But it has BioShock and BioShock Infinite in it.
It does, and those games are really good. But they're different games. I want to count them as one game. We'll get to them when we get to them.
And then we got Kirby Planet Robobot.
Fun game. Not one of the best games.
Inside.
Can I be honest? I don't really like Inside or Limbo.
I like Limbo, but I'm not a huge fan of Inside.
I beat both of them, and I'm just like, yeah, that's a game.
And Civ 6.
Civ 6. Civ 5's better, for sure. I accidentally put Stardew Valley in 2017, not 16, so we'll just leave that one out because we already have it on the list.
And we got Twilight Princess HD. That was a great remaster, especially with what it did for like ease of access with the controls.
I think I'm gonna put Twilight Princess HD because it is the better game than Twilight Princess.
It's just a lot of quality of life changes.
Yeah,
and it looks nice.
Yeah, it looks better. It runs better.
And only on the Wii U. Our first Wii U game.
I mean, Breath of the Wild's on there. You could argue that's a Wii U game.
Half a Wii U game.
Yeah.
I mean, they took all the Wii U elements out of it, so.
Our first Wii U exclusive.
Ooh, and we got No Man's Sky.
That's a hard one. Because No Man's Sky today could arguably be maybe in the conversation. Which I guess by that definition, I should put it on the list because these are games that have in the conversation. So I'll put No Man's Sky.
Yeah, we have Thumper as well. Thumper is a good game.
It's a good game, but it's...
World of Warcraft Legion.
I think that might be it. Do we put Dishonored 2? We put XCOM 2. I'm putting XCOM 2.
Okay.
That game is for tactical... it's not even an RPG, just tactical games. XCOM 2 is like one of the best games.
We have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I don't know if you count that as its own thing, since it was like a DLC.
We'll just wait till The Witcher 3.
Or the Blood and Wine expansion, that is.
Oh, that's what came out, was Blood and Wine. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to put things like that, so I think that's...
Oxenfree.
I think that's it. So we have Dark Souls 3, Super Hot, Pokemon Go, Uncharted 4, Overwatch question mark, Twilight Princess HD, No Man's Sky, and XCOM 2.
Solid year.
Not bad. Not bad.
No arguments for Doom.
We have Doom Eternal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just categorically better.
But whoa. We didn't put F1 2016.
Oh, fuck. Cancel the list. All right. That's good. If you disagree with our list or think that another game should be on here, feel free to message us over at either the YouTube channels, youtube.com/thatoneandrew, youtube.com/slightlyemp, our Patreon, and also while you're there, feel free to support us, patreon.com/slightlyemp, and of course you go to our Facebook group, facebook.com/slightlyemp, and leave a comment on any of those. Twitter.com/slightlyemp also will. I don't use Twitter anymore, but I do check it occasionally in case anyone's messaged me and things like that. Or I got X now, whatever.
I'm not on there.
And that goes for a fun question too. If you'd like to ask us a question, any of those that I just listed, feel free to leave a comment on there, and you might be heard on the show. This week's question, Jake, what is your favorite video game adaptation?
My favorite video game adaptation.
So,
like
and when I
from
mean
game to movie or TV show,
I meant from movie or TV show to game.
Oh,
yeah, not game to TV show or movie.
Spider-Man 2.
It's a good one.
Ratchet and Clank is a pretty good game, but I feel like it's just a game made around movie cutscenes.
Yeah, it's also weird because that was like a very established franchise, and then it's also a remake of the first game that they happen to make a movie and then a game again.
But it's not exactly a remake of the first game. It's like its own thing. It's like a retelling
it's a remake as much as Final Fantasy VII remake is, where they change characters a little bit, they change the story a little bit.
But it's not exactly the same game.
I mean, it's the origins of Ratchet and Clank.
I mean, the story wise, it would be, but like as far as like the game, like the game is concerned, it's different. Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. Like with Final Fantasy VII remake, the game is very different than the original.
Yeah,
you know.
You still got all your locales and like the order you get to them and stuff like that.
That's fair. Yeah, they kind of hit the same beat.
The structure is still there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say probably it's movie to game. Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
I know there's a strong argument for X-Men Origins Wolverine, but I haven't played that one enough to have that thrown on here.
Yeah, I had an answer, and then I just completely forgot it. Honestly, when I typed this up, I was like, "Oh, this one, of course." And then we got
Finding Nemo for GameCube.
No, all those so many adaptations back in the day were just so bad.
I love the Toy Story tie-in. I think it was a tie-in for Toy Story 2, but they just called it Toy Story.
Yeah, that game's not terrible. We played it on the PlayStation, I think, right? Yeah.
It was on PlayStation. I had it for PC when I was a kid, and it also came out on the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Which I beat it recently on the Dreamcast, legally.
Legally. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I have no answer. Sorry.
Wow. Well, come on. You're not going to put Hotel Transylvania 3 for the Nintendo Switch?
Harry Potter. There you go.
Harry Potter.
Hogwarts Legacy.
Hogwarts Legacy is not a movie adaptation. You were thinking of like the Deathly Hallows.
I just said an adaptation.
Connect. Star Wars Connect.
Oh, you know what? The Star Wars games are pretty good.
Battlefront 2 is a pretty good adaptation of like the events of Episode 3.
I'm thinking on GBA they had the Star Wars trilogy. Freaking love that game. That's my answer.
And you have Star Wars Episode 3 for PS2.
I do. Episode 3 for PS2 and for Game Boy, different games. Fucking phenomenal.
Its own original ending too.
Yeah. Better ending.
Yeah. He just kills everyone. It's like, all right, I didn't lose my legs and become a crispy boy. Is my wife alive?
She might be. She died when Obi-Wan was like, I had to kill him. So if he's alive, she's alive. Anyways, okay. Well, that's fun.
Okay.
Fantastic.
That was fun.
Let's move to the news. Jake, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Part 2.
Do you remember when we had those trailers for Modern Warfare 3 back in the day, and they would say World War 3, and then the M would would flip to Modern Warfare 3, and it would do like and the green and everything would come up.
It was the fucking coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Given it was like arguably the weakest of the original trilogy, but I think hype wise, it was up. It was like
hype wise,
people couldn't stop talking about it.
Let's just read the story.
People are shitting bricks about it.
We talk about it. So Call of Duty is back, which is a shock and surprise to literally everyone. But actually, this Call of Duty marks one of the shortest reveal to release dates we have ever seen in its history. Typically, the new Call of Duty title is announced around mid to late spring, usually coinciding with E3. God rest its soul. In the, quote, Makarov reveal trailer, end quote, we are shown a combination of live action and CG footage showing Makarov in what appears to be the Gulag a la original Modern Warfare 2.
Told you it's live action.
A worldwide reveal is dated for August 17th, which will be tied with the ever-successful Warzone. Call of Duty first released in 2003 and became annualized in 2005 with Call of Duty 2. Originally developed by Infinity Ward and Treyarch, it has since seen a bevy of studios contribute to the franchise. The original Modern Warfare series, which ran from 2007 to 2011, was arguably during Call of Duty's best years, with sales consistently over 25 million units sold each game, peaking with Call of Duty Black Ops and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, which sold 31 million units and 32 million units, respectively. The reboots of both the Black Ops series and Modern Warfare have seen massive success in the wavering franchise, with Black Ops Cold War selling 30 million units and the Modern Warfare 2019 selling 31 million units. 2022's Modern Warfare 2 sold over $1 billion worth of copies within its first 10 days on the market, making it the fastest selling Call of Duty within that time period.
They're probably thinking like, wow, we said we weren't gonna annualize anymore, but after all that money, we could make a story DLC as in like do a whole new game we're going to release on the market.
So it's funny that you say that, because that's the thing I've been seeing tossed around most, is that this is just DLC.
Because I mean, like everything they've shown, it's like it's the exact same menus, like it's the exact same UI, it's all the same assets.
Multiplayer is probably going to be more or less the same, but with new maps.
Yeah, like maybe.
Well, they'll have, because I mean, honestly, actually, I am a lapsed Call of Duty fan through and through. I still get them eventually, and I will play through them eventually. Although there's a few of them in there that I still haven't played, like during the Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 4. I know that didn't have a campaign, or 3 didn't have a campaign. That kind of era where that was really when I fell off. And then recently I have been kind of getting back to them with these reboots of the franchise, as everyone else has, selling almost as much as their highest selling copies or highest selling.
Like I actually went out and bought a copy of Modern Warfare 2 around the time it came out, and we played the decent amount of the multiplayer.
Yeah. So this rebooting of the franchises has definitely worked to pique interest back into it. But I think it is very telling that they are creatively bankrupt. Call of Duty tried something new with Ghost and Advanced Warfare and Infinite Warfare, and regardless of how good or bad those were, the success was never close to the success of the Black Ops and Modern Warfare series. No. And I think this is something where Warzone, although Warzone has been huge, it's not Fortnite levels, but it is close to Fortnite levels, and it is a massive moneymaker for them. People play it constantly. I guess the map change just like Fortnite, things like that. I don't really play Warzone.
Because I think they like integrate like old maps into Warzones overall. Yeah, like the Rust was in there, and like
which
Terminal
I think is
and all that.
Really smart. Like that's what they should do. And I know that when they first had Warzone, whatever it's called back in Black Ops, that's what it was. It's just a bunch of multiplayer maps connected on one single map, and they've really evolved with that concept. But no, I think them doing really what it was. So I played the campaign in Modern Warfare 1, and I was like, I like this. Mm-hmm. I like that they took the Modern Warfare series, brought the characters back. They kind of fleshed them out a little more. And then they also kind of spun up the gameplay with a lot more covert op types of things, or like house raids, things that you see or we saw, growing up during the Afghanistan war of like, that's what they did. They were doing home raids and stuff. It wasn't what the Ukraine war is now, like World War II, that wasn't the war America was fighting anymore. So it was really cool seeing that. But then with Modern Warfare 2, they really started playing into the nostalgia of like,
there's Ghost,
there's Gaz, there's
Shepard.
Scope, here's Shepard. And then where I stopped, spoilers for Modern Warfare 2, both of them, Shepard betrays you in the new one, but it's so out of left field. It was not set up.
But you're watching like the subtitles, and then your friend's name turns from green to red mid-conversation.
The original Modern Warfare 2 was a masterclass in storytelling with what it had. It told all of its story in cutscenes, basically. But it was so good with it. And it was so good with setting up characters. And the I don't even know what to call it, reboot, I guess. And the reboot, it felt like.
Yeah, it's completely rebooted because they're not remakes at all, because it's not following the original game story or level or anything at all.
That's what's weird is that they're trying to, though. Like Modern Warfare 2, I can't actually tell you what that game was about. I think something about like missing weapons or something. I don't know. I almost beat the game. Like I was 2 missions away from the end, and I have no idea what that game was fucking about.
I still haven't played it.
And like it was just like, oh, Shepard betrayed you. Now you're on the run and everyone's trying to kill you because that's what we did in the original game. He betrayed you in the original, so now he's going to betray you here. And it's just so – it was one of those things where I rolled my eyes and I stopped playing the game because, like, this is incredibly stupid. It's like you're just doing this because they'll do it. And then when I saw the Makarov reveal trailer, I'm like, oh, now Makarov's back. I don't think he was in the games at all in the first 2. If anything, he was probably like an after credit scene in the last game setting him up. And it's just so lazy, and it's so.
I feel like I'd have heard people talking about it if he was in Modern Warfare 2, like at all, though.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember people talking about it, but it's just as a Modern Warfare fan of the original 3, it's disgusting. It puts a disgusting taste in my mouth.
I'm like, if in the final mission you just get in Juggernaut suits and just go ham?
Just exactly the same. Well,
it's like a literally like shot for shot remake of 3.
That was something that was interesting too, because watching this reveal trailer, it looked familiar, and it looked like I saw scenes of like the Gulag and things like that. And there's like a castle there where it looked like the mission where you go into the castle to rescue Price and things like that.
And Modern Warfare 2?
Yeah, in Modern Warfare 2. So it this honestly looks more like a remake of Modern Warfare 2 than any of the previous games. And maybe that's what they're going for, is that maybe there will be a Modern Warfare 4, and that this is the Modern Warfare 2 remake now.
I'm honestly shocked they'd ever made a Modern Warfare 4 back in the day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing was that they ended the story, and then Infinity Ward also imploded during the production of that game. That's when the 2 leads left to go find, what's that? Respawn Entertainment.
And then we got Ghosts.
And then Sledgehammer came along to help finish the game and things like that. But and they also ended the story, And that's what you did back then. Yeah, back in the day, you used to end games.
Yeah.
You had
the third one.
Yeah.
We had like Mass Effect, Call of Duty, Halo, Spider-Man
3. I mean, it's just a thing of trilogies, and I call it the Lord of the Rings effect, because that's what it's kind of right at the beginning of the century.
And then Harry Potter changed everything.
With the
2-part finales. I'm glad those are done. Like that was such a thing for a long time. I was like, we're having a 2-part finale for the last book being adapted, and now it's like, here's just like a 4-hour movie. Just watch it.
Guess,
okay.
God of War was also a trilogy too.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it was just a thing that was done. So, and I guess my mindset is still in that too, of like, oh, you're going to introduce Makarov and then kill him in the last game. My mind is still in 2011, So this might be like, fuck it. This might be a saga, because
we still haven't got like a nuke moment in these games, right?
I don't think so, no. And
definitely not in the first one.
I think that's something too where I might be looking at this wrong, where it's like I said earlier, their most successful days were with Black Ops and Modern Warfare. And they're literally reliving that success almost beat for beat with this new Modern Warfare and Black Ops reboots. So why not just keep milking the cow?
We'll talk about Vanguard.
Why do we? Well, yeah, they tried something a little different with Vanguard. That wasn't even like a World War II shooter. It was kind of like like historical retelling, like kind of fictionalized.
The thing is, like, whenever they try to do something like that, it failed. Like Battlefield 5 and Vanguard both tried to do like a revisionist history version of like World War II events, or one even, and they were just like, no,
Well, it's
like
because
we don't like that. We just want a historical we just want historical accuracy.
Exactly. Like I was probably one of the most excited people for Vanguard, and then I played it and I fucking hated it because I'm like, I literally just want to play these World War II battles. That's all. And I thought that what they did with Call of Duty World War II wasn't bad. They tried to do the whole Band of Brothers thing, which I thought was weird, and I don't like that they were like, I mean, they were using fake people, which I guess is fine. That's what the older games did and things like that.
Yeah.
But I did appreciate that game for like, kind of hitting those big beats like you did the Normandy invasion, things like that. But also you had some smaller battles. And I was excited because Vanguard was going to go over to the Pacific Theater, but it did in a terrible, terrible way. You're playing as a stupid fucking pilot, and it was awful. So yeah, I think that they're going to continue. There will probably be a Modern Warfare 4 and 5, but I also think that I don't want to 30 million copies. That's nothing to scoff at. Obviously, they're doing great. Warzone's doing great. But I do think this is kind of a sign where if you're sitting there and you're looking at your 5-10-year plan for Call of Duty, do you start getting nervous? Do you start thinking, we got these two things and nothing else? And then eventually these two things are going to be on Modern Warfare 7. Like, are people still going to care?
I mean, I think people are already like not really caring about Modern Warfare 3.
I think so too. I think
a lot of people are just upset because they said that they were going to support Modern Warfare 2 for 2 years, and so people got invested in it. That's probably what helped with a lot of sales too, because people are like, oh, I'm going to be able to play this game, and it's going to keep being supported for at least 2 years, and then now it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, and they've already done their nostalgia stuff. That's what they did with Cold War, which is
Cold War was almost like just another story in the original game franchise. It wasn't like a reboot or anything. And the first Modern Warfare almost like could just fit like as a prequel to the original trilogy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't until Modern Warfare 2 that it was like a new timeline. But I think that has to do with like these 30 million units sold things. I think a lot of that is nostalgia. And I just don't know how it's sustainable. But maybe they don't care. Maybe literally Warzone is their moneymaker now.
Probably because it's free.
I mean, you look at Fortnite. Fortnite has definitely dropped off in like the conscious or in like the video game sphere of talking about it all the time. But it's still, I think, the most popular, or even PUBG is a better one where no one talks about PUBG anymore. It's like the third highest played game still today. Like PUBG is massive, but we don't talk about it. And Warzone might just be the thing of like, Microsoft buys Activision and then they're just the Warzone people. That's it. Yeah.
I also heard like some interesting stuff about what happened with like Battlefield 2042. Like apparently it was supposed to be like a hero shooter.
Interesting.
Like kind of like Overwatch. So like that's why like the class system like changed in it and everything. But then what was it? What's the other the Titanfall people made? What was that one called?
What do you mean, like Jedi Fallen Order?
No, like the shooter.
Oh, Apex Legends.
Apex, yeah. Apex Legends ended up being like a big success. Of like midway through development, they're like, oh no, switch it back to like traditional Battlefield. And so like during that, they had to like cut the campaign and cut like a whole bunch of other stuff. And they were also dealing with the Frostbite engine, which they made it, but it was also an entirely new cast of people at DICE making that game too, so they didn't really know how to use it.
And the engine's also been incredibly changed because they've had to optimize it for open world games, for sports games. Like it's a completely different engine because before it was very specific first person shooters. That's what this engine's for. That's what it makes. Now I can't imagine, like it's probably just so complicated now. But speaking of Battlefield 2042, I did play that game like a year after launch.
Yeah.
And I think about playing it like to this day because it was good.
Yeah, they've done a lot. They keep like fixing and supporting it, but it's like just the player bases all went back to like Battlefield 1. And I think even 5 has like a higher player count than
5 is good too. I like jumping into 5 sometimes and playing some of those multiplayer battles.
Yeah.
It's just another one of those, and it's something EA, or I guess honestly, it's DICE, because EA releases games that are fine all the time, or even really good. But
It's also
DICE
their
just seems
release window, because I think like EA forced the like they wanted to delay the game like another year, and they had like 6 months to make Battlefield 2042.
Yeah, I heard about that too, where they made it in an incredibly short amount of time. So, but yeah, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3.
Halo 2 had a 9-month development technically from when they had to restart everything and then get it done by like, the release window that Xbox was like, you can't delay it anymore too.
One of the best games ever made.
One of the best games ever made, but games were also easier to make back then.
I was going to say, hell of a lot less complicated. I'm sure
unless you're Bungie, I'm sure like making a game at Bungie was probably the most complicated thing in the world back in the day.
That's fair. That's fair. I was gonna say,
like, games are a lot bigger and crazier now.
Yeah, one map on Battlefield 2042 is probably more complicated than all of Halo 2.
I have something crazy. Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver was made by like 20 people.
Yeah, no, that's what games. And this is a bigger topic in conversation that maybe we'll talk about more in depth sometime. But it's just like, you look at these seminal games that even today get re-releases, and they're still Metroid Prime, one of the highest rated games of the year, sold probably millions of copies. I'm sure that dev team was 40 people, 50 people, and it's like that game was probably made in a year or two too. And it's one of these things where I think everyone's chasing Grand Theft Auto 5. Everyone's chasing Red Dead Redemption 2. And like, huge budgets, huge team, you're going to sell 50 million units. Like, I think that's honestly like on Ubisoft's chart, like, we're going to hit Red Dead 2 levels of sales, which is so dumb. Don't do that. Stop pouring 6 years of dev time and thousands of people working on these games.
Because it was like Bungie back in the day, like it maybe had maybe a couple hundred people.
Yeah.
And like at its peak, like with it during Halo. And then now like 343 started with like 4,000 people.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. These teams are so bloated. These projects are so massive. And it's like, if you ask me, and honestly, you'd probably get more money this way too. I would rather have God of War 1, 2, and 3 than God of War 2017. And I'm not saying gameplay style or something like that. I'm saying cut up the game, make it more focused, make it less big, because I'm tired of huge games too. These games are just getting so fucking massive, which is great once in a while, but when every game is massive, then you start having to pick and choose.
No one is.
Then no one is. But like, cut up God of War, and it's funny too, because these games kind of even have the beats of like, that's where the first game ends. All right, now we're going to the second game. That's where this arc ends. It's like, you could have just made this 3 games, sell them for $60 a pop. Hey, now we're not spending $70. You're making more money spending the same amount of dev money.
Or, Last of Us 2. You could have done a Pokemon and had your Abby and Ellie game.
That's another one where, like, Last of Us 2, as much as I like that game.
And then you beat both and connect and use the password system to get the true ending.
Joel comes back as a clicker.
Whoa, he's the final boss. He's the boss clicker. He's like the end of the Resident Evil 3.
Joel's in Resident Evil. He started Resident Evil, actually.
That's the spinoff title. Last of Us is the spinoff of Resident Evil. Yeah. Leon's out there.
But I don't know.
Chris is punching a boulder out there somewhere.
It sucks that the games with shorter dev times, like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed, they're just cookie cutter, you know?
Because they have to be. Here's all the assets. Here's all the shit. Just like do something with it. Like you got like a year to like write a script.
But even then, I still kind of like it, I'm kind of fine with the cookie cutter once in a while. If God of War, like I said, if God of War 2017, let's not even say 3 games. If it was 2 games and it came out, because we kind of got that. Ragnarok is a lot like God of War 2017 in almost every way, in combat and storytelling and voice actors and graphic. Like, everything is pretty much the same. But you didn't really hear anyone complaining about that. They were just that with God of War 2017, where it's like, have you played the game?
No, I haven't played either.
Okay, I won't spoil it then. But there's a moment like halfway through where it's like, yeah, this could be the end of the first game. You have a nice 20-hour game. Maybe you have some additional, throw in some side content that's not too hard to do. Have some challenging bosses and things like that. Boom, you just made a game. But
it's instead, just people are afraid of their to like let their games end anymore.
Well, people are afraid to let their games end, but also I think it's just like, I think it has to do with like the Twitter sphere or the echo chamber that these executives and stuff listen to. It's kind of like what else we were talking about the other night about like offensive things, and I was saying that joke from Family Guy where it's like we had 7 people call in that they were offended. As you know, 1 call equals 1 billion people, so 7 billion people were offended by this. And I honestly think that it has to do with that. Where I remember in like 2013, 2014, 2015, where it was like a game would release. And then Twitter, quote unquote Twitter, whatever that is, the augmented sphere, the collective conscious of Twitter was mad that the game was short, or was mad that the graphics didn't look good enough, or was mad about, it's not open world. So then every company listened to these probably 10,000 people who are just talking loud on Twitter, and now every game is big and open world and has to look the best.
Halo got open world, and that
exactly
broke the franchise because they didn't know how to do it.
Because that's what the consumers want. That's what the people want. We made one game that didn't sell well because it's not a great game. Oh, it's because it was an open world. Make Infinite open world. That'll increase sales, even though that game's still not great. It's like, oh, but it's open world now. That's what you wanted, right? It's like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no.
We just want Halo.
The 10 people who are happy about that, great. You got 10 more sales, but then you just pissed off your core fan base, and you made us wait for 7 years or whatever, which is fine in some aspects, but not when you're on a hot streak, No. When you're releasing Horizon Zero Dawn, you don't want to wait 12 years to get the next 2 sequels out, because that's what it's turning into. It's like, you fucking, I played this at 18. I'll be 30 when this story ends.
Yeah.
When before it was like 5 years for 3 games. So I don't know. I'm definitely ranting now, but it's definitely something that
like Final Fantasy VII Remake. Who knows when that's going to be done? Exactly.
And I think Final Fantasy VII Remake turned out really well. And actually, I think they're fucking doing that faster, because didn't that game come out in 2020?
Yeah, it would have been 2020.
And it comes out. Yeah.
They've released like 7 Final Fantasy games in the meantime.
Yeah, but then they did the Integrate, which was kind of like a remake with the additional DLC. And then they did Crisis Core. So honestly, they're fucking doing it the right way. 3 to 4 years for a game, especially a game that big, because Rebirth looks massive. Like, it is going open world, but that's what Final Fantasy VII is. It's like perfect. Yeah. Well, why am I waiting 5 years for God of War Ragnarok? Yeah, it's just bloated dev time. Why am I waiting 7 years for Halo fucking Infinite?
Because they were working on ridiculous, because they were like, oh, we're gonna do it annualized. So it's like we had like a 2009 release, 2010 release, 2011 remake release. We had the Halo 4, and then we had, I think it was like a year in between Halo 4 and the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah,
and then there was like another year between the Master Chief Collection and then Halo 5. And then there was like 7 years in between Halo 5 and Infinite.
It's just wild that these like companies don't run it the way of like, if I was making Halo and you're making Halo Infinite, and we know that it ran into a lot of problems. That was a problem. That was something that was really like holding them back and stuff. Why not take 60 people and be like, hey, you guys go make a Halo game real quick. Just a 6-hour tight side adventure somewhere.
It used to be like 3 years between Halo games. Like, you'd have Halo 1 in 2001, Halo 2 2004, Halo 3 2007.
Yeah,
pretty solid. And then you had the ODST in 2009, which was like a spin-off, kind of like smaller story. And then Reach,
but
your next big Halo game, another 3 years after the last big one.
And that's the problem too, is that they don't want the ODSTs. They don't want the smaller side stories, because it's not going to sell as much.
But they want to have big Chief stories. And I'm like, Chief story ended with Halo 3. It's at least and then even Halo 4, you could end it there. I'm like, that's a decent enough story to end it.
Money is the root of all problems. Because back, even when like Mass Effect and things were being made, it's just a trilogy that I can think of that took 6 years to make. The games were not selling nearly as much as they're selling now. We're going to talk about in our next story how Final Fantasy XVI has sold probably closer to like 4 million copies now, and people are calling it a failure, which is ridiculous. Like, 4 million copies sold, that is a shitload, but it's not 30 million copies.
Or the entire franchise of Metroid sold.
It's not 45 million copies like Red Dead Redemption 2. It's not 10 million copies like Tears of the Kingdom, because that's where
it's the same thing in the movie industry right now. Like everything's just getting so over bloated and big, and has to make like $1 billion for it to even be profitable. It's
right.
Just, like we're reaching like a.
But then
the balloon's about to pop.
But then you see the most success from the $100 million Barbie movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even if it didn't make $1 billion, even if it made $500 million, the Barbie movie made more than Avatar 2.
Yeah. Well, and it's like it's like I feel like studios and stuff are like confused right now because they're like, why is this working and this not? Why did people like Barbie and Oppenheimer at the same time? What was that? How do we do that?
What is this anomaly?
I saw like on Twitter or X or whatever. I think it's the same studio that owns like Saw and Paw Patrol, and they're like, and those movies are coming out around the same time, and they're like hashtag Saw Patrol, and it's like, no, it's not. Don't do that. Like, no one's saying that.
Yeah, no. Barbieheimer made Barbenheimer works. Yeah. It's a fake word. Fucking say it right, because it was organic. Yeah, it's a natural thing. It just happened to release the same day.
Like big studios hate that because they don't understand it, because they're like, things happening naturally is like so foreign to them, because it's like, okay, well then like how do we make money off of
how do we recreate the success? It's like, you don't.
Yeah, it's impossible.
It's called getting lucky. And that's what the video game industry is trying to do right now. They're trying to recreate Grand Theft Auto 5, which happened naturally. They're trying to recreate Minecraft, which happened naturally. They didn't. When Notch made Minecraft, he wasn't sitting there and be like, this is going to be the 200 million units sold game.
Like, he was honestly terrified when he got big.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's just making a game.
He tried to make that horse game, remember?
Yeah. or like Five Nights at Freddy's. It's like,
that was a movie.
People are just making games, you know? When even Call of Duty, I know it got annualized fast, but like those first, when Modern Warfare came out, the fourth Call of Duty game, they weren't selling 10 million units. They weren't even selling like 5 million units. Or they might have been selling somewhere around. I mean, they're selling a lot, but it wasn't even like close to what it's selling now. But they were just making video games, you know?
Yeah, it's like the same. Like, I always go back to Bungie, of course, but like they formed together organically, and like they were passionate about the story they wanted to tell. Even when they didn't want to do Halo anymore, they still made like 5 Halo games.
Yeah.
After the original one, because they just want to do the first one and move on to something else.
Yeah.
But you know, Microsoft's like, that's a lot of money. Like they were passionate about the stuff they made, and they didn't, even if they didn't like want to do it, they still wanted to make a good game. And they didn't want to just release shit. And then now it's just like everything's a product. It's just like, oh well, like 343. So it was a company built and designed to complete a task, which was make Halo. Not like, oh, we want to continue what Bungie did, and like we are like super passionate about it. Like we're gonna continue, like we're gonna talk with them. We're gonna try to get all like the information we can from them, so we can like keep that feel. No, they're just like, Call of Duty's big.
Yeah. Let's make Call of Duty.
Let's make Call of Duty.
And it's unfortunate because that mantra even today is still kind of like growing. I was reading something where this one of the head guys at Sony Santa Monica was like, yeah, I think he literally said verbatim, like, we're fine being the God of War studio. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why would you only want to make one thing? Because then everyone who works there, it's like, you just want to make God of War the rest of your life?
Yeah, that's what happened with Bungie. It's like, I was so excited. It was like when they got their, independence, and now all they've done is Destiny since they've left.
But at least they are starting to branch out a little bit though, because they're making what's it called?
Marathon.
Yeah, they're making Marathon again, which is.
But it's still like a multiplayer only game or something like that.
That's what they do. I think that's fine because they're still doing something different. You know, they're making a different game.
I would like them to start making more than just like Destiny, or I like, I'm always chasing that. Like, what's the next Halo? You know, what's the next really good, just tight single player, like with co-op option story game coming out? Because like I don't want to like Destiny's too big at this point for me to dump into.
Right.
Especially Destiny 2.
I think about it though all the time.
Same.
And actually, one of the DLCs is on PlayStation Plus, so. Maybe we'll finally try it out, because I do. It sounds like it's good now, like really good now, and
I think it's always been good.
That original Destiny 2 story, I played through it. It was not great.
But it's Bungie as well. It's like it's none of the same people that were there when they were making Halo at this point.
Of course. More or less. I think there's a few, but not many. Yeah, it sucks, and we could keep going on about this forever, but it's just like I also don't want to be doom and gloom either. Like I said, like Square Enix, I think they're a great example of. I think their expectations are way too high, as we're about to talk about in this next story. But they do a really good job at.
Arguably, Bethesda, they've been like still making like a decent. They've never like great, but like they're still making like a variety of games.
Yeah, but not Bethesda Studios, but Bethesda as a whole. I think they're doing good. And you know, going back to like why I have a problem with this too, it's like I bring it up with Zelda all the time. Like we used to get Zelda games constantly, and now we've had 2 in the last 10 years.
I'm surprised there isn't like a B team making like smaller, simpler Zelda games like on the side.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Because that was kind of like the song and dance we got. We would get the 3D one, and then like wait a couple years, you get the 2D one. Then wait a couple years, you get the 3D one. Like kind of back and forth, or maybe like even like a couple of 2D ones in between.
And they kind of did that, but more or less their new mantra is just remakes, remasters. Link's Awakening HD, Skyward Sword HD. It's like, this is cool.
I would be okay with like Oracle like remakes.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool and I enjoy those, but also like, why don't we get anything new anymore? Even the bad ones like Triforce Heroes, I'm like, it's at least something new.
Yeah,
it might not be the best thing in the world, but it's still like, oh, we're experimenting a little bit. We're trying different things out.
Going back to that 4 swords mechanic, even though there's only 3 swords this time.
Yeah, but I don't know. We're way beating this into the ground. That's fine. We'll talk about it more later, I'm sure, because it is a problem in our industry. And as you said, the movie industry too. But it's just.
Where's that Call of Duty movie?
And I think you are correct. The bubble is going to burst.
I think good things are on the horizon. But I think we still got some time to wait until that happens.
I think as consumers, these bubbles bursting will be great. When the video game industry crashed in the 70s, it led early 80s, right? Yeah, 83. When it crashed in 83, that led to the Famicom, which is the NES, which arguably spawned this right here. Yeah. PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo as we
literally spawned PlayStation.
We are here because the arcade and Atari bubble got so big, it literally got destroyed. But then we got great games out of it.
And then we'll get great mobile games once the home console market crashes.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Stadia will be back. We'll get the cloud gaming. That's what it makes its rise.
Still have those controllers.
Amazon Luna, still here.
You know what? Luna might stick around longer than Stadia did because Amazon at least doesn't kill their fucking products.
Right.
All right. Let's move on to the second topic. It kind of has to do with everything we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so Final Fantasy XVI.
I think you were trying to segue into this a while ago too, weren't you?
Not really. I mentioned it, but yeah. I have control over this. I have control.
Okay.
Sort of. It's loose control. I'm like a puppeteer, but some of the strings have been snapped and I can kind of like still do it, but you know, it's a little difficult. All right. Final Fantasy XVI has amassed over 3 million copies sold since its June release. By the way, those numbers were announced, I think, a couple weeks after its release, so it's definitely higher than that. It's probably around 4 million now. But this number seems to have caused some contention online. Since day one, Twitter pundits, as I like to call them, and fans of the series who aren't keen on the shift from turn-based combat to action have preached the, quote, failure, end quote, of Final Fantasy XVI. In a world of Zelda selling 10 million units in a week, 3 million copies sold is now being looked at as a failure. It doesn't help that Square Enix themselves typically sets lofty, many times unreasonable sales goals for their games, sales expectations that have been added to the, quote, Final Fantasy XVI is failing, end quote, mantra. As reported by Dave Gibson from Bloomberg, during a recent Square Enix analyst briefing, Square stated that they were, quote, hoping, end quote, for more sales of Final Fantasy XVI. The tweet, which has since been deleted, was clarified by Gibson saying that, quote, the results were in range of their expectations, feel the penetration of PS5 performance was quite good, end quote. So they feel that the penetration of PS5 users was good, to kind of ad-lib for that. This clarification hasn't stopped news, quote news, video game news outlets running with the original story, stating such headlines as, quote, Final Fantasy XVI doesn't meet sales expectations, end quote, which is categorically incorrect. Final Fantasy XVI is the latest entry in the Final Fantasy franchise, which started on the Famicom all the way back in 1987. That's 4 years after the video game crash. It stayed primarily on Nintendo until the 1997 release of Final Fantasy VII. Since then, it has been primarily on PlayStation, centered it has been a PlayStation-centered series with specific entries being released and reported to Nintendo and Xbox. Its previous entry, Final Fantasy XV, ended its sales run around 10.2 million units sold, and that was available on Xbox, PC, and PlayStation. Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is a PlayStation 4 and 5 exclusive, later being ported to PC, sold a little under 9 million units after 3 years on the market. So even though I kind of had a stroke at the end, you kind of get the gist of the story. Jake, we were talking about this a couple nights ago too, where I think we both agree the whole Final Fantasy 16 sales are bad, it's failing thing is just kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
It seems like a story that has been here since day one, even though every single time Square Enix has talked about it, they've said, no, it's meeting our expectations. And I think it's people, especially news reporters, because I mean these are the people talking about it, like that headline quote that I said earlier, that was from Push Square and things like that. I feel like these news outlets want to say that it's failing, and I'm sure part of that comes from people are clicking on the articles, people are clicking on the videos saying Final Fantasy 16 is a failure or it's not meeting expectations or things like that. And I didn't mention it here, but the news during that analyst briefing also came out that profits were down like 70% over last year. Mm-hmm. And I told you that means they're still making profit. Profits are down, but they're still making profit. But this is now being twisted into Square Enix is failing, Final Fantasy is failing, and I don't really understand it. Aside from people just wanting to hate on it.
I think it's because like there's been a lot of contention with it being exclusive to PlayStation these last few years and stuff too.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Like, yeah, people, because my main thought has been like people don't like the combat of it, and or the gameplay of it. It's not turn based anymore. Even though 15 was kind of moving into the action already, like pretty hard.
I mean, even 7 Remake is that way. I mean, you have the pause mechanic, but
yeah. I guess that's confusing too, is because, and maybe it's just the thing of this is the third game in a row now, and this is a mainline one, and they're still doing action. Yeah, but like I don't know, it's like it's a lot there. But what do you think? It's like, is this game a failure? Do you think that this is being missed?
Almost definitely, Square's gonna have to sell off to PlayStation after this.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially after Balan and this now, it's not looking good.
Honestly, Balan was the writing on the wall. When that game the game of the year. But didn't sell at all? Oh my god.
Well, they put the Balan boss fight in Final Fantasy 16. That's when you knew they were really hoping that was like they put all their eggs in that basket.
No, but I don't know. I think we've talked about this before too, but I do think it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
For context, Street Fighter VI, which has been touted as a resounding success, they recently, or I guess it was about a month ago now, but it was a month after its initial release, they announced that they had over 1 million copies sold. And everyone celebrated that. But it's like...
But this is Final Fantasy.
But this
is like held to a higher echelon.
And I think it also might be that people don't understand that I think only like Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy 15, I think are the only two Final Fantasy games to sell over 10 million units. Every other Final Fantasy has sold under that. All right, technical hiccup. I don't even know what we were talking about there for a second, but yeah, Final Fantasy 16 is not selling. Oh, I was going to say that it's probably sold
ratio of consoles to sales.
It's probably similar. Like it actually is similar.
I don't think the crowd that was buying Final Fantasy VII Remake has shrank to not be buying Final Fantasy 16.
Exactly. I just think less people have PS5s. And also, they've said many times, which is again weird, that they're like preemptively preparing for this and stuff like that. They're saying like Final Fantasy 16 is a game that we're going to be selling for years, and we have like a roadmap for it, and like
Battle Pass. I
don't think it's Battle Pass, but I do think it is like a PC release, and then maybe I think they saw a really good sales boost when they did the Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate. So they might do something like that with 16.
A pocket edition.
Maybe. Hopefully not, but maybe. Yeah, so
get it on the Switch. Let's get this game running on the Switch. Come on, guys.
It reminds me of I think I was talking with Ida on one of the shows earlier where we were talking about Persona, and I was like, yeah, Persona 5 is the first one to break 1 million units sold. And she was dumbfounded by it. She's like, no way, really? I was like, yeah, like a lot of games, it's like we talk about sometimes where it's like we are so into the gaming sphere where we know literally thousands of games, so we just know them.
Yeah.
But like the general audience, even today with Persona being as quote unquote big as it is, fucking 99 out of 100 people don't know what Persona is.
Oh yeah.
You know, like it's not
the big thing with like games from Japan when they sell like 1 million. That's a pretty good success because most of the time they're making it like for Japan.
Yeah.
And it's just like anything extra for the worldwide release is like, oh, that's great.
And they typically have smaller budgets too. They're not having these massive bloated budgets like American
Final Fantasy 16 and 7 remake. They look great, but they're not like the budget of Halo Infinite.
No, and you can even tell too, because that's something else I heard is like, wow, this game is so expensive. Final Fantasy 16 looks so great. It must have cost a fortune to make. But then it's like playing the game, and I wish Roger was here so we could kind of like bounce off each other about it a little bit. But like when you're playing the game, you can tell the moments where the money is not there. Like the side quests are fucking, they are what they are.
Like Square's really good with smoke and mirrors. Like remember the doors of Final Fantasy 7?
Oh yeah, the low resolution doors and shit like that. Yeah,
the character models looked fantastic, best ever. But everything else is kind of like it's a little PS2-y, it's a little PS3.
Definitely, and those moments are in 16, where it's like when you get to those moments, oh my god, those moments are as good as Final Fantasy VII Remake, fighting like the Airbuster and things like that.
Yeah,
but then you get to the smaller things, and you're like, that person's face is weird.
Give me a pizza.
Give me a pizza. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that this one was abnormally like expensive or anything like that. And also, I just remember this just came to my mind about that whole profits being down thing. Important to remember, and I even fucking forgot. Last year was an anomaly with Final Fantasy 14 just fucking exploding. That was last year, right? If I remember correctly.
It was sometime during the pandemic. It was all 1 year.
Yeah, it was all. And I think those profits kind of like, I think we've seen the hype die down for 14 again, but like, I'm pretty sure it was like late 2021 and early 2022, which would have been reported on their profits of the year for their fiscal year. But that was like, they had so many users, they had to stop letting people buy the game.
Yeah.
Because the servers were full. Like, context is very important. Information is very important. Because their profits are down does not mean that they're failing. It doesn't mean that their games aren't being sold. It means that things are different. And also, if you're worried about Square Enix, which you shouldn't be worried about any of these companies, all these companies, like the big AAA companies, are good for fucking ever.
Oh yeah.
Like at this point, their IP is so valuable that we saw Capcom have like fucking 10 years of garbage. And they're fine. Of course they're fine. They're Capcom.
Yeah. They made it through Street Fighter 4.
Yeah, but don't be worried about Square Enix at all. That's silly. They own Final Fantasy. They own Dragon Quest. Like, they're good.
They sold off Montreal, or not Montreal, but what was it? The Enix. Or not Enix. What Eidos? That's what it was. Yeah, they sold off Eidos
and Crystal Dynamics. They got rid of a lot of their Western developers.
They got their money.
I think that was good too, though, because they're focusing. A lot of their Western projects weren't really great. I like the Tomb Raider reboot, but I do think that it was one of those things like focus on what you do. And that's Japanese games.
Yeah.
So okay, put a pin in that. Leave it there.
I think I had an audio error. I don't know if I'm still good
right now.
Yeah.
I guess we'll stop it and see.
Hello, welcome back.
If there's any cuts in there, sorry. We didn't talk about anything important.
Chop.
We're having technical issues, but what's new? Jake, let's go through the quick stories of the week.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, PlayStation 5 has sold 41.7 million units. We don't know Xbox's sales. Last we knew, they're around 20 million units, so it seems like they can't find the same success. No. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin has been announced by THQ Nordic.
So I'm excited for that because that's always been a story I've been intrigued to read.
TMNT used to be adult centered when it first ran, and then like this is kind of like going back to its roots of being violent and like dark. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's all the turtles are dead except Michelangelo, so he carries on their torch.
Yeah. A new Fatal Frame game has been announced called Fatal Frame City of Wolves, if you're interested in that. Titan Quest 2 has been announced and it's coming to PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC. A new multiplayer South Park game called Snow Day is coming in 2024. And you know what? It's not doing it's 3D. And
so it was a co-op game too.
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing that though. Like
it's a remake of the 64 game.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it honestly is. I know you're joking about that, but it basically is.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this until I was looking up news today, and I screamed a little. Corpse Party 2, Darkness Distortion has been announced. Same right. Team Chris Chris, same writer, same producer. He said that this is the true sequel to Corpse Party, not as in. So if I'm a huge Corpse Party fan, talking about favorite franchises of all time, Corpse Party is like number 5 or 4, like it's up there, and 5 or 6.
Especially the movie.
I like the movie. I like even the live action movies. I love everything about Corpse Party. And Corpse Party has a sequel. It's Book of Shadows, and then its sequel, Blood Drive. And those are varying degrees of quality, but I enjoy them for what they are, more or less. And then we've had some spinoffs. And what's interesting is there's already a Corpse Party 2. It's called like Blood Patient or something like that. But it's not. It doesn't have any of the same characters, and the vibe is kind of different. It's also a Flash game. It looks like a Flash game.
Yeah.
And then there's been some other spin-off Corpse Party games like Sweet Sachiko's Birthday and stuff like that. It's really weird.
So pulling a modern Hollywood, we were like, this is the actual sequel to this.
Yeah, which I think is what they needed to do, because after its highest seller has always been the first game. And they re-released the first game constantly. It actually just got a PS4 re-release with new trophies and things like that last year, I believe. And of course, I get it every single time it re-releases just because I love the game so much. Mm-hmm. But the way that I was reading it was like Corpse Party 2 is the next Corpse Party, if that makes sense. It's like, this is, I'm hoping, going to have the same pixel art and same vibe as the original Corpse Party, because they've never really done that.
3D open world game.
Well, that's what they did with Blood Drive. It's not an open world game, but it is a 3D game, and that was they nailed it with the first game, and for some reason never went back. And the way they're talking, it sounds like this is going to go back to that.
I would love if they did a similar thing to like what Square's been doing with their 2D games, like an HD 2D game.
That'd be cool. They're definitely a lot smaller. Team Gris is a tiny company, and then they use XC to publish, so they don't have that Square money.
Yeah.
But this did get me all giddy and very happy.
Or could do it what Shantae does, where it's kind of like that 2D like hand drawn aesthetic.
Yeah, they could do. I mean, every single time that they re-release Corpse Party, they do kind of like remake it, sort of. Like they make it better. They add some things. They make the audio better, stuff like that. So
unlike Persona 3 Portable.
Fuck you. Not to you. Fuck you, Atlas. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
those completely compressed audio and
terrible. We're not getting down that rabbit hole. Yeah. Lollipop Chainsaw Repop has been delayed to 2024.
Dang.
Final Fantasy for that one. Me too. I like Lollipop Chainsaw. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is releasing on September 7th. I want to go back for a second. If you don't know what Lollipop Chainsaw is, it's this game where you play as this cheerleader with her dead boyfriend's decapitated head on your waist.
Well, he's not dead. He got infected, so she decapitated him. And she's also like I guess she's got some sort of like mystical background with her family, like she did like the zombie hunters or whatever. So
yeah, and
just another day for her.
And she has chainsaws, and you're killing a bunch of zombies. It's like the coolest game ever.
There's a lot of banter between her and head boyfriend.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite ones that was memed quite a bit. You probably heard it. It was hey, it's like, what's your favorite color? He's like, blue. Wait, no, green. She's like, oh my gosh, I love finding out more about you. And he's like, oh no, I fucked up. It's yellow.
It's so good. This one got me excited too. Fucking Princess Maker's getting a sequel. Princess Maker 2 Regeneration is releasing on December 21st, and this actually might be a remake instead of a sequel, but it's more Princess Maker. I'm excited about that. And then this could have been a news story, but I didn't really want to make a news story. Red Dead Redemption is being ported to Switch and PS4. It comes out.
Oh man, I don't know if you saw like all the people like getting like hyped up about like the leaks and stuff. I mean, like, oh, we're getting a remake, or we're getting like a remaster. It's like gonna look like just like Red Dead 2. And then there's like, hey, everyone, we know you like Red Dead Redemption. And like, yeah.
There it is. Red Dead Redemption. You want to talk about laziest,
$60,
greediest 50. It's not
50,
60.
Okay.
They saved you $10.
Mm-hmm.
They took the game from 2009, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. So 2009, 10, Red Dead Redemption. It does have Undead Nightmare 2, which was the DLC that released a year or two after.
Mm-hmm. But you were able to get that like 2-pack at Walmart for the 360 for like $10 for years.
It's the exact same game. Exactly the same. Same resolution, same frame rate, same assets, same gameplay. Exactly the same. $50 just support. And it's Rockstar for some reason gets a lot of credit. I don't know why. They don't do anything, and they make the most money out of every video game company. But when
GTA Online like killed everything that they do.
Well, definitely, but like after the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, which was outsourced to Grover Street or Grover Team,
but it was a completely different studio name until they did that.
Yeah, they make mobile games, so cheap, and then they AI upscaled like half the things. So again, cheap, and it was broken at launch. You're talking about the guys that make billions.
Portable did a lot of AI upscaling.
Oh, I know. At least Persona 3 Portable came from Atlas.
Yeah,
they didn't come from fucking Rockstar, who has enough money to like buy Xbox.
It's true.
And then they're doing this, and they're charging $50 for the same game, which they put zero work into. Yeah. Zero. It's fucking disgusting. Rockstar's quickly just becoming like it's one of those things where I talk about Rockstar, I'm like, yeah, I used to love them. They were great when they made
crazy
games.
About Rockstar too is that they used to be a second party Nintendo public like studio.
Oh, really?
When they were DMA Designs.
I didn't know that.
So like they were making a Kirby game at one point for like the Super Nintendo. And
that's a fun little fact.
Yeah, and then that same studio that was making the Kirby game ended up making the first GTA and becoming Rockstar North.
That's so great. I love that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guys that making a Kirby game make Grand Theft Auto. And
it was actually supposed to be like a easier Kirby game than the other Kirby games. Like it's supposed to be for like actual like infants to play. It was called Kid Kirby.
Don't know even how you fucking do that.
Right.
All right. Anyways, don't support shit like that. If you want to play Red Dead Redemption, honestly, go out and buy a fucking Well, it's backwards compatible on Xbox, which has 4K upscaling. So play it on that if you can. If not,
honestly, it's like I think it's still like $20 on or something like that on Xbox. So
yeah,
way cheaper.
So buy it on there, or if you're a PlayStation person, just if you bought a PS3 in the game, it would be slightly more than the game. You could probably get a PS3 for $60-$70 now, somewhere like a used one, and then the game.
You probably find someone selling like their PS3 and games for around that price. It would be in that bundle most likely.
And you can get Red Dead Redemption for like literally $5 on PS3.
I don't know, because I wonder how much they're selling.
I would rather you do that than support shit like this. Although I will say, for Switch, it's cool. The Switch port, I'm honestly less upset about. Like that one,
they bumped up the price for the 360. Like the Red Dead Redemption Game of the Year edition, which has Undead Nightmare on it, is $40 now.
Of course they did that. Scumbags.
It was like a $20 game.
It's exactly what they fucking did with the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, where they delisted all of them. They're greedy scumbags. Wow, British people, can't trust them. That was a joke. Anyways,
it's all the prices have started to bump up for the physical versions of them.
Fucking disgusting.
So, well, I have it. Maybe
I have it on disc for the 360. Don't support shit like that.
I had it on disc. I don't know if I still do. Probably not. I think I got rid of it.
This podcast featuring Jake's chair.
I need a new one.
We didn't even talk about your chair saga. That's okay. We'll save it for the next show.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the end of this. As always, we'll talk about the newest big releases. So, Jake, if you're looking at the doc, audience can't see this.
Did it change? I thought there was more.
I cut out 2 of them.
Okay.
Because we're going to do something a little different. I didn't feel like looking up the actual descriptions of these games. So we're just going to fucking wing it. All right? We got Baldur's Gate 3 and Pikmin 4. Which one would you want to do?
I'll do Pikmin.
Okay. Well, okay. Baldur's Gate 3 comes out on PC. Live the life of your favorite Dungeons and Dragons story in Baldur's Gate 3. Create your own character, forge romances, and explore a mistress world in this Dungeons and Dragons exclusive before it comes out on PlayStation and Play 4 and 5 next month. Do you have what it takes to save the land of Mysteria and bring those who have been wronged to the light again? Baldur's Gate 3. Can you find the gate and open it up to defeat the gods? Only you can be the one. That's all I got.
Okay. All right, Pikmin 4. Nintendo Switch game only. Sorry, Xbox players who are waiting for the next entry of Pikmin.
Get fucked 360 players. You're not getting this one.
You got Red Dead. Pikmin 4 is a real-time strategy video game developed by Nintendo, EPD, and published by Nintendo. It is the fourth main installment of the Pikmin series, following Pikmin 3, and the sixth installment overall. It was released on the Nintendo Switch July 21st, 2023.
The fuck are you reading?
The Wikipedia link.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's not the description for sure.
It's the fourth one.
There you go. Mainline one.
Yeah.
I like that they kind of Pikmin bloom as a Pikmin game, which I guess it is.
And
but the 3DS one makes sense.
3DS one, yeah.
But they said it was the sixth game. I was like, well, you're counting Bloom then.
Or Pikmin 1 and 2 HD.
Oh, shit. Well, that's the seventh one now.
Yeah, it's true.
Kind of. Well, no. Digitally, it came out before 4, so
yeah.
That lied. This is the seventh release.
Or is it even counting the 3DS and mobile one?
Is it counting the Wii ports? Because now we're at like 9.
We have Pikmin 3 Deluxe.
10. How many fucking Pikmin games are there? Pikmin 4. If you don't look up fucking trailers for these. Jake, pick of the week: Baldur's Gate 3 or Pikmin 4.
You could fuck a bear in Baldur's Gate 3, so I'll probably pick that one.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3. Although Pikmin 4 looks good. But...
yeah, I'm not a Pikmin guy.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, show's a fucking train wreck. Do you have any more questions or something you want to talk about?
I think I did, but I lost my train of thought. You can talk about my chairs.
We don't need to get into that.
Okay,
we'll save that. That is a saga.
That's still ongoing. I gotta go take that one.
Yeah.
Back to Target today.
Well, we'll talk about your chairs at the beginning of the next show, which will be Thursday, where we're gonna do our Zelda spoiler cast. I know if you listen to the last show, I know that was supposed to be the next show. I was too confident in myself. I thought I could do a podcast and move. That obviously didn't
either.
That obviously didn't happen. Well, I moved.
Ended up in the middle of Ohio.
I don't know where I'm
supposed to be going.
I think I'm in Uzbekistan or something. I'm really confused.
You look like you're in the same room.
Yeah. Fun fact: apartments all kind of look the same. So, but
same door. Wow, I have that same door in my room, and this is a house. It's like every place uses the same door. I might be in a house. You don't know. I don't think you are.
You don't know anything. Anyways, that's the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. If you listen to us and want to see our beautiful faces, youtube.com/thatoneandrew or youtube.com/slightlyemp. Go watch stuff there. If you watched us and want to just have the audio, we're on podcast services such as Spotify, Google, and Apple. If you'd like to support us, we would really appreciate it. Patreon.com/slightlyemp, where you can toss a couple bucks our way and also get links and updates for everything. Yep. Facebook.com/slightlyemp to get new episode postings, things like that. Check out our other spin-off show, which is the Gaming Block Light. We've only done one episode so far, but we talked about our game of the year so far, and I thought it was a really good conversation. Had a lot of interesting things to talk about. We're also going to be recording the next one, as I just said, this Thursday, where we'll do a Tears of the Kingdom spoiler cast. I think I'll have it beat by then. The pace that I'm going right now, unless something fucking catastrophic happens.
Wait, honestly, just beat the temples and then just go
that's what I'm doing.
I was actually probably have a decent amount of hearts, I'm sure.
Oh, I have 95 shrines done.
Oh yeah, you're good.
I was actually still doing the shrines, and we'll talk about it in the spoiler cast, but I hate the shrines. They're so dumb.
They're better than the last one.
Yeah, marginally. What else am I missing? Twitter. I don't fucking get on Twitter anymore, but twitter.com/slightlyamp if you want to see when the new podcast is up. Like, I post
Threads.
links. Threads? No, don't go on Threads. Instagram, I guess. I don't fucking know. Am I missing anything? Do I have anything else? I think there's something else that I'm missing. That I'm
OnlyFans?
No, not yet. Like and subscribe, I guess. Leave comments if you want to hear your question on the
Hit
show.
That bell.
If you have any comments or anything like that, leave a comment and we'll get to it. Fuck it, that's it. All right. Bye.
Bye.